This one's going out to my Commodore 64 subscribers and fans worldwide. I'm going to be showing you where to get new Commodore 64 games in 2023. I'm going to show you a range of different websites where to buy physical copies of C64 games here in 2023. I'm also going to run through some more obscure websites and some forum websites to keep you updated on Commodore 64 content. I'm then going to be showing you how to run your Commodore 64 games if you don't have hardware to do it here in 2023. It's a great video and I've taken a little bit of time to put this one together to give you the very best experience to get you up and running on your C64 in 2023. Enjoy. Okay, so first up we got obviously Cytronic, which is quite probably the most popular publisher for modern 64 games. It's run by Ken's, and Ken's has been doing this since the early 90s with games such as Skepta and Baghdad, and he's still continuing today, and it's a great website and it's the first C64 modern day publisher I came across. So we go onto the website here, and as we can see we got a very nice piece of artwork here for Soulless 2. By the way, I did a bit of gameplay on Soulless 2 last night. So anyway, we go into the website, and as we can see here, we got different releases that Cytronic do. Their most popular is the C64, but they also cater for other platforms. But for this, I'm looking at Commodore 64. And we got a list here of all games and games in progress that Cytronic have published or are going to be publishing. So by the seams of it, their latest release is Terrestrial. Just click on this, and of course it says pre-order this. And if we just go through the pages here, we can see the extensive games that Cytronic had published. There's been loads. The first game which got me into Cytronic software was Nightingale. To date, that's my favourite C64 modern day game. And for those of you liking Metal Warrior, they also published Metal Warrior Quadrilogy, which is a really good release that came out a couple of years ago. And Cytronic, they've also got an itch.io website, which I'll show you in a minute. A good thing about Cytronic is they also publish games in hard copy, so they do disc games, they do cassette games, and of course, like I just said, they've also got itch.io site. So if you prefer buying through itch.io digital downloads to use on your emulators, then itch.io Cytronic is a very good way to do this. Let me show you. We can just go down here, and on itch.io, this is going to open up the Cytronic itch.io website. And if we just pop here, view all by Cytronic software, we got all Cytronic's releases. Some of these are free, such as Inbred. Some of them you got to pay for, another free one there. And there's some really quality releases by Cytronic. They do some of the very best. Most of these I've actually covered in my gameplay modern C64 games. Still more to come. So be sure to check out Cytronic. It's an absolute must. Okay, next up on my list we have got RGCD. RGCD, a bit like Cytronic, publishes games on hard copy, but they just do cartridge-based games. So if you're into cartridge games, then RGCD without a doubt is your best option to go for purchasing cartridges. If we just scroll down on the right just here, RGCD, they've got a blogs archive, going back to 2011 here. So there's a lot there, and RGCD has been going for quite some time now. But they're still publishing games to date by the seams of it. It's not one I use very often, but I know they're very popular amongst Commodore 64 enthusiasts. And they also do a dev competition every year. I'm not sure if they're doing it anymore, but it's where developers submit little games and they go in for the 16 kilobyte cartridge competition, as we can see just here. And if we go underneath the games section just here on the RGCD website, we can find all the releases dating back to 2009. And there are some very good games here. So RGCD and Cytronic, they'll often work together, such as the Guns and Ghosts game just here. And there's a few others which Cytronic have done in partnership with RGCD. And this is what RGCD is currently got in stock. So like I say, they do publish games on hard copy. And there's some really quality games there. Rocket Smash X, they're sold out, but that's a great game, almost like a clone of Jetpack on the ZX Spectrum. And of course Bomberland is a very good game, but a lot of these are sold out nowadays. And of course, just like Cytronic, RGCD also has itch.io, so if you prefer playing your games on an emulator, you can just buy digital copies of the games and play them on your emulators, and there's some really good titles in there. Again, Power Glove, that was a very cool game, and C64 Anabolt was very good, and not forgetting Super Breadbox, that was a very addictive game. Okay, next up on my list I've got Poly.play. So Poly.play, they're not quite out there as Cytronic or even RGCD, but they do publish games for the C64, modern games, as you can see on screen. If we just go to the shop here and we go underneath Poly.play software, we'll see Commodore. And if we just scroll through this, you can see that they're publishing it and they're still active, publishing some modern day C64 games. Each section has got a subsection, such as Commodore 64 here. And we can see one of their latest games is Hibernated 1. Got to admit, I've not actually played this one yet. But here you go. So just like the other two websites I just recommended you to, Cytronic and RGCD, Poly.play also produces these games on hard copy. This one, for example, is available on 5.25 inch floppy disk with a cardboard box, which I know some collectors like. And we got another option here, which this one comes with, such as a micro SD card, which includes a game image and even a poster, which a lot of these modern C64 publishers include posters, CDs, that type of thing, soundtracks. So Poly.play is another good website. And next up, this is a German-based publisher for C64 modern games. This is Protovision. So they released one of the most popular games was Sam's Journey, and just recently they've also published a Pig Quest, which I've covered both of those in my gameplay tutorial, so check those two out, they're superb games. But let's take a look what Protovision has to offer. So we have got games in development. This is going to tell you what games they're currently in development with. I believe Limbo is still in development. Limbo was of course a PS3 indie game, and there is a demo of it on C64, and as you can see, this one's very impressive. This is the latest release from Protovision, which I will be trying out soon. This is Cursed Tomb, and yeah, you can buy Cursed Tomb on hard copy by the seams of it. It says in development, but it's actually for sale by the seams of it as of recording this video. And if you go to the links section on Protovision, it's going to give you little links to different publishers of C64 and also developer websites such as Knights of Bike, who was behind Sam's Journey. We got Cytronic website here and a range of others, such as a New Dimension. That's a developer who frequently posts new games, uploads new games to, say, CSDB, Commodore Scene Database. And of course, Protovision also has an itch.io store, so you can buy these games to play these digitally on your emulators or whatever you're using. And there's a big range of games from Protovision, and Protovision is a fairly old publisher these days. One of the early games they did, which I bought at the time, was Jim Slim, and that's a hard copy, really nice game. Okay, and one of the last ones I'm going to tell you about is Chronosoft. So I've never actually bought from Chronosoft. I think mainly they focus on ZX Spectrum games, but they do some Commodore 64 releases. So if we just head over to this website, we'll see Commodore 64 section, and as you can see here, they got a few different releases on cassette tape for the Commodore 64, and Chronosoft, they actually just really predominantly look at publishing on cassette tape, which some fans like for that nostalgic experience rather than digital downloads. So one of the latest Commodore 64 games Chronosoft have to offer is Stranded. I've not actually played this one, but as you can see, they got a PayPal checkout to buy your games on cassette, and they got a range of different platforms publishing modern day games for the 64. And finally, this is a very good website resource for games for the C64, older games, modern games, even demos on there in SID music files, is Commodore C database, that's CSDB. If we just go under latest releases, this is updated literally daily, several times a day with new things. So there's going to be games on there you won't be able to download for free because they're still commercial, such as games such as the Sarah Avery games. But if we just take a look on the type here, crack files, that tells us that someone's cracked into the game, and they give it trainers. So trainers is cheats. You can just scroll through the pages on CSDB by pressing next at the bottom here, and like I said, there is lots on CSDB. It's a very popular database for Commodore 64 fans. And for example, if I just click inside of one of these, I'm going to go for this game just here. We can then download on the hyperlink just there, which most of the time is .d64 file, so just download that. But like I said, recent games, you will have to go to the publisher's website, such as Sarah Jane Avery, and that would normally take you to an itch.io site. So I've got some extras for you during this video. This is Lemon 64. Lemon 64 has been around for a very long time, hosted by Kim Lemon. Back in the old days, I used to use Lemon 64 to find out information on new games. It's very good. There's also pages and pages full of Commodore 64 game reviews, including old games, classic 64 games, and modern games. But the most important thing about Lemon 64 is the forum. Most 64 fans use this. Like I said, I used to, not so much anymore. But under the forum, you can find different information on new games coming up, different information and news on the scene, demo information, that type of thing. There's even a supermarket. So for example, people around the world will have stuff for sale, such as disk drives, modern hardware such as turbo chameleons and automatic cartridges. They've even got an RGCD section here and Cytronics section, so this will give you sort of updated information and news on what's coming out and what's in development, and it truly is a very good forum to use if you're new to the C64 in 2023. So Lemon 64, it's a crucial website to use if you want to keep updated. Another great website is Games That Weren't 64. So if you remember from the old days, every now and again a magazine such as Zap or even Commodore Format magazine, amongst others around the world, they would have told you games were coming out, but they didn't come out. For example, Beavers on C64 or even Fuzzball. Games That Weren't 64 gives you lots of information on those games. They'll give you backstories on what happened to the games, even lost games. And if someone recovers images, files from a game developed many years ago, Games That Weren't 64 will undoubtedly upload it so you can play it. There was a Daffy Duck game, I think, a few years ago, which was meant to be released by High-Tech Software. It got scrapped, and yeah, a few years ago somebody had the game file and they gave it to Games That Weren't 64 so people could actually play it. So looking at this website, we can find prototypes and unused materials. So under here, you're going to have prototypes of games that were in development and, obviously prototype versions of games. It truly is a great website. I've just come across right now DJ Puff, Unused Materials. DJ Puff, it was a great game I used to play as a kid. And under here, you'll likely find little bits and pieces from the game, such as sprite editors, that type of thing. There's some very good stuff on Games That Weren't, and there's literally thousands and thousands of games to read about on Games That Weren't, including Flimbo's Quest 2 information, which I've talked about in previous videos. They've also got a search engine here, so if I just type in Flimbo's Quest 2, press enter, and there we go. So we got Flimbo's Quest 2, and it's going to give you a lot of information about what happened to Flimbo's Quest 2. It was meant to be in development, but from what I read, It got scrapped and that with some complicated technicalities with System 3 and Boys About Brains, who developed the original Flimbo's Quest. So you've got a file here, music for Flimbo 2, you can listen to. There's some really cool stuff on GameStatWeren't.com. So finally we got C64.com, and just like a couple of the other websites, this one has been around for a very long time. This is going to give you more information on games, older games, modern 64 games, demo, scene news, articles, pictures. They got a Facebook just like the other websites, pretty much got social media profiles such as Facebook and Instagram. Let me just show you something. If we go under games, it will give us latest editions. And one of these is the Empire Strikes Back, which somebody coded back in 2022. It also gives you links to download some of these games on C64.com. So for example, let's just click on C64.com games here. And of course, some of these games you can download now. So there's a little link just here if we download. Normally, or actually all the time, these will download in .zip files as so, and it will normally be a .d64 image you can use in an emulator. And you've also got a macOS version folder there. So C64.com is very good. Like I said, if you're into the demo scene, then you've got lots of new C64 demos being released. Let's check one of these out. So we got new faces here, and of course we've got another download link. So be sure to check out C64.com, it's very cool. Okay, so you've got all the news on latest games, that type of thing. So how are you going to play these? You no longer have the original hardware, or you got the hardware and it's damaged. So there are several different routes you can go down here in 2023 to get up and running, playing your favourites again or modern games. I'm going to recommend Vice. Vice, as it says, is a versatile Commodore emulator which emulates all the 8-bit Commodore microcomputers. I've also done tutorials in my playlist on getting you up and running using Vice, and it truly is a great emulator. In fact, the best. So I highly recommend Vice Versatile Commodore Emulator for Windows. We've also got C64 Forever, and in fact I did a tutorial on this one yesterday and a bit of a review. So there's a free version of C64 Forever, and if you want further information on how it looks, how it plays, check out my C64 Forever, which, like I say, I updated yesterday. It really is a great emulator system, and in fact that's where Vice came from. C64 Forever, or legend has it. Some of you might be aware there's a C64 mini system which came out several years back now. You can use the keyboard on it, it's literally just for aesthetics, and it is a nice looking system. You can plug a USB into it, put your own games on it, upload firmware, and there's even some pre-installed C64 games already on there. And there's also some new C64 games. So you can buy this from Retro Games, and yeah, it's great, and it's also featuring an HDMI connection. Retro Games have also produced the C64, which is a full-size bread bin Commodore 64 Mark I model with a fully functional keyboard, also HDMI, and it's also got games preloaded in there, including some new games. Highly recommended, and it also comes with a joystick just like the 64 Mini did. And finally, we have the Mega 65, so not quite Commodore 64 related, but it was meant to be a computer from Commodore, but unfortunately Commodore went under back in 1994. So a team of talented people came out with the Mega 65, and this, as you can see, was how the Commodore 65 was meant to look. It's a very expensive computer, but as you can see, it's a thing of beauty. It's also got a floppy disk drive in there. There's plenty of videos on YouTube, so I've seen demonstrating what this thing does, and one day I'm going to own one of these. It's a great looking system, and it's going to support all your C64 games. As you can see, it's got Ethernet cable in there, HDMI cable, VGA cable. It's even got expansion port to put cartridges in, and 2 9-pin joystick ports. Really check that one out, but only if you can afford it.